Welcome to another episode of the Best of Africa. Meet with me, Dr. Ufot Ekong, an engineer at Toshiba Mitsubishi Electric Industrial Systems Corporation, TMEIC, based in Japan. Ufot Ekong is originally from Akwa Ibom State in Nigeria. Mr. Ekong was born in December 7, 1990, and has a twin sister. Akwa Ibom is a state in Nigeria and is located on the coastal southern part of the country. Akwa Ibom is one of the Nigerian's 36 states with a population of over 5 million people in 2016. The state capital is Uyo with over 500,000 inhabitants. Akwa Ibom is an airport and two major seaports on the Atlantic Ocean with a proposed construction of a seaport at Ibaka. Ufot Ekong went to Japan to pursue his undergraduate degree at Tokai University. And in his first semester, he solved a mathematical equation that couldn't be solved 30 years ago. Ekong received the most prestigious award, the President Award, and became the first African in the school's history to receive that honor in addition to graduating with the best GPA the school had seen in 5 decades. Furthermore, Ekong received the overall Best Graduating Student Award. In all, he graduated with 6 awards for academic excellence from the school, including the President's prestigious award. He went on to pursue a master's in electrical and electronics engineering and a doctorate in power electronics and motor drives, all at Tokai University. Ekong became an engineer at Toshiba Mitsubishi Electric Industrial Systems Corporation, TMEIC, based in Japan. They say, don't waste time looking at thorns or you will miss the roses. Though he encountered many challenges, Ekong never gave up to pursue his studies. Tokai University is a private university founded by Dr. Shigeoshi Matsumae with its headquarters in Tokyo, Japan. It was accredited under the Japan's old educational system in 1946 and under the new system in 1950. In 2008, Tokai University, Kyushu Tokai University, and Hokkaido Tokai University were consolidated and reorganized into Tokai University. The Tokai University educational system is one of the largest general education and research institutions in Japan. Today, Tokai University holds its headquarters in Yoyogi, Tokyo, with 8 campuses all over Japan and 21 schools and faculties make up approximately 80 departments, majors and programs, with its graduate school offering 21 courses, and the total student enrollment for both undergraduate and graduate is approximately 30,000, including 775 international students as of 2017.
Well, my background, I'm from a big family, a family of seven, 5 kids, we'll say 5 children, and 2 parents. I'm actually the last born. I'm a twin. I have a twin sister, and we all grew up together at young stages of life. We're a close family. We stayed in the same room, even up to we were 12, 13. We we ate on the same table every day. So I think we always had this lively house. But amongst them, I think I was what some people would like to call a radical, because I always had an injury every week. I was the one that used to go out and kick my leg on the stones and, have this injury. But yes, we all had different positive sides. I was the one who used to love washing the car. My older sister loved to cook. My younger sister liked to clean. And so it was easy to have the house look, everything work together. My elder brother liked to read the paper. So early in the morning, he would go out and buy the paper before we wake up. But yes, as a family, we did good. Well, the memories that I look back today, I smile, I laugh about. But when they happened, they were bad. They were like horror movies. I mean, I got into Japan. To start with, I booked the wrong flight. So just imagine if you were going to Lagos and you booked a flight to Enugu. So that was just, so I had to luckily I had an option of taking a speed train or a plane again to the next state. But here, where I got to, nobody could speak English and I couldn't speak Japanese. That was number one. So it took me like 3 hours just to find out how to reroute myself to where I was going. And this was after I had come through a 24-hour flight. So altogether, getting to the international dormitory, it took me at least 50 hours. No sleep, no shower, less food, because I didn't even know how to change money. That's how bad I only had dollars on me, so I couldn't even change the money to yen. And so when I got to Tokyo, there's a station called Shinjuku Station. It's the busiest station in the world. You have at least 500,000 people walking past in 10 minutes. So everybody's moving, and I'm the only one standing in the middle, stranded. So there was this security who knew a little English and helped me get my way. That was just the first day, that was how bad it was. I already felt like, man, this thing is going to be impossible, man. I have to go back home. I was discouraged the first day, to be honest with you. And then things like that always happen. A lot of stuff like that I look back today and say, oh yeah, that was a funny experience. But that time, nah, I didn't like it at all. It was bad. Well, the language was, to be honest, I would say I wouldn't use the word difficult, which it is. I would say it was challenging. For the fact that I started from zero, I started from saying good morning in Japanese. The first day someone greeted me. I didn't even know what it meant. I was like, what's this guy saying to me? I didn't know what it meant. That's how bad it was. And so we had this language school course, and we had tests, we had exams every day, we had the writing to do it. And what I did was I used the Nigerian style in the sense that I did more of the speaking, because sometimes you read and you can't still understand. I think that's one of the problems why even in Nigeria, when we study Hausa, Igbo, Yoruba in secondary school, we just read it. We don't get to do the real practical speaking. But I was in a situation where every word I learned was useful to me, because it was adding up to me becoming more comfortable. So the more I learned, the better it was for me. And so I wanted to learn more. But in reality, it was difficult. So what I did was I had my friends. We used to have staffs in the international house, some Japanese. In night, I would stay off with them. And then one thing people never want to hear, I had a lot of girls that were willing to teach me. Japanese. They were always there. Anytime I needed to do my assignments, I didn't understand. You know, men are always there to follow you to drink, but the ladies are always there to help you once in a while. And so, but it was strictly professional, of course. But the ladies helped. And then during the holidays, because we have 2 months holidays after every semester, what I did was I went and I bought 3 textbooks. And then I finished those textbooks. And I sent my teacher a mail that she should come and give me tests on these textbooks. This was during the holiday, and she was so happy because she could see the zeal that was coming out from here. And she came all the way to school during the holiday. We had the test. So the first semester, I started in the 11th class in the Japanese language school. And then the second semester, I was in the 4th class. So I had skipped at least 6 to 7 classes. And so I spent a year and a half in the language school just getting the language. The first year was the language speaking, the grammar, intonation. You know, intonation is very important in Asian language. And then the last half of a year, from the 1.5 years I spent there, was basically doing mathematics, physics, chemistry in Japanese, because when you get into the university, you have to get familiar. And those who wanted to study banking, who were from other countries, were studying economics in Japanese. And because the words are different, you know, in every language when it comes to economic, or even in how you say calcium or how you say force, you have to study those deep things. But the good thing about engineering is formula is formula anywhere you go in the world, you know. The name might be different, but when you write the formula, you know what they're talking about. And that was something that helped. But yes, the language barrier was there. And I think the hardest part of the language barrier was not just interacting with people, but not being able to buy or shop what you want to shop, eat what you want to eat. It's like being in a prison in another country. You know how it feels when you cannot say what you feel. Someone is telling you to do this, but this is like you want to say, this is how I feel about this, when you can't express yourself. And so I know a lot of people who quit at that stage, who came from countries like Saudi Arabia. They said, man, I can't keep up with this. And they just quit. Not that they didn't have the finances, you know, they just quit. So a lot of it was there. I just knew that I needed to finish. The most important thing about language was every extra semester cost me money. And so my main goal was to get into the university, but I had to get the language qualification first. And so every extra semester I spend cost me money. Actually, the language school is 1 year. But if you can't finish it all in 1 year, you have to do a year and a half. Some people spend 2, some people spend 2 years and a half. And so that 1 year, that half extra expense was already costing me a lot. So I had to rush up my best to make sure I got the language so that I could proceed into undergraduate school. Yeah. Yes, they were. Tokyo is the most expensive city in the world. If you look at the list of the most expensive cities in the world, at least from 1 to 10, 5 of them are in Japan. It's so bad that 5 slices of bread is 110 naira, which is about 200 naira. So when I got to the supermarket, and you know, when you go abroad, the first thing you do is everything you buy, you convert it to your local currency to see what it feels like. So I looked and said, 5 slices of bread for 200 naira. I looked at eggs, 6 eggs for 160 yen. That's about 300 naira for 6 eggs. I said, money will be a problem in this country. And so from that moment, when I started shopping and when I started seeing how expensive it was just to eat, I knew money was going to be a very big problem. And I had already had it in my mind that somewhere I was going to have to work to even pay my school fees at some stage, because my twin sister went to the US. I was supposed to go to the US, but I opted to go to Japan. So I had made a decision that this is what I wanted, and to make sure that this worked out, I had to fight as much as I could so that I wouldn't disgrace the people who told me when I was going that, I think you're making the wrong decisions. You know, to be true, to say the truth, some of them still call me to congratulate me up to today. Some of the people who told me, don't go to Japan, it's a different culture, it's expensive, people are different, not black people there, you know. They still call me to say, congratulations, we heard about your feet. And I'm like, yeah, thanks for the advice you gave me many years ago. Yes, I had to get a job. I had to get a job sounds a little bit lightly. I wouldn't have been able to live without a job with a source of finance because I wasn't getting money from Nigeria or any other place. At that point, I had no scholarship. Now, Japan is a society where only 20% speak English, and the 20% will be in central Tokyo. So when you talk about central Tokyo, you mean you're talking like somewhere on the island in Lagos, in VI, or in Lekki. So the rest of the suburbs don't speak that much English, and the schools are never in the city, they're always in the suburbs. Now, to get a job, you need to have a high level of Japanese proficiency. And before I got my first job, I had applied at least 100 times, and I went for 56 interviews. And I was turned down 56 times. And every time you go for an interview, there's a paper like a CV. We call it Rirekisho. It's a Japanese CV. You buy at the supermarket and you write your credentials, you submit, you go for an interview, you submit, and every time you have to put a passport photo. So, you know, taking a passport photo is money. Buying that paper is money. And so every time you call, that's your phone bill going. You don't have money, but your phone bill is going. Going for the first one, they say if we don't call you back, you're not getting the job. If we call you back, we'll tell you the results. And so I kept going for these interviews and kept going for these interviews and kept going. And you know, one thing I've hardly told anybody that really motivated me about going back to these interviews 56 times was I had a Nigerian student, a senior student. His name was Ayo. As at that time, he was in his 4th year and he was working in a place called Sukiya. It was a restaurant. And Ayo could speak very fluent Japanese. Now, the fact that I could see that Ayo could do it did not let me stop. Because not that I felt that I was better than Ayo, I felt like if Ayo could do it, then I can. Because Ayo is a human being like me, and Ayo has worked for like 3 years in those companies. Why wouldn't I be able to get the job? And so I kept on going to these interviews, and they kept telling me the same thing. They said, the Japanese is not good enough. It's not just good enough. And so every time they told me this, when I got back home, of course, I felt depressed. But you know, the truth was, they were telling me the truth. My Japanese was not good enough. So I needed my Japanese to be, one, comfortable, that's to be able to communicate by whatever I want. I also needed my Japanese so I could get into the school earlier and stop spending money on language school. And now I needed my Japanese to get a job. So everything I needed to be comfortable was coming back to the same Japanese language. So I had to keep all my effort into it and stop and not quit. So I kept going for these interviews to the extent that my roommate thought I was a fool. Because it sounds easy when you tell someone that you went for 56 interviews, but I know people who have actually done job hunting or applied for a job before would tell you what it feels like when you go to 56. By the time you go for the 15th one and you're turned down, you know how it feels. But because I saw people do it, I knew that I could do it. And so I kept on going and going and going until I got my first job. It was at the shipping company. And then I got another job at McDonald's at the kitchen, so I was working 2 jobs at the same time. But after I got the first one, every other job I applied for since then, I got it. Because by then my Japanese was fluent. Everything I learned, my professor in language used to say one thing. He used to say, Ekong, you are the textbook. I learned everything in the textbook. That everything I read, I will go back and speak with other people to make sure that it sticks in my brain. And so I was just improving from time to time. And after a year, my Japanese was so good that I was able to work. Now, even where I work in McDonald's, I work as a manager now, a part-time manager. I started as a kitchen staff. When I used to work at the counter, you know, the drive-through, when the cars come in and you take an order and you drive out, I would talk in Japanese. The Japanese people would come in front. They would look at me. Were you the one on the microphone? I'm like, yeah, it was me. I'm like, you sound like a Japanese. So what do you expect me to do? It's your language, you know? That's the level I got to that really helped. Well, I think I've come very far away in terms of engineering. We've gone through undergraduate, we've had the experiments, the practicals. From our third year, we started research. I build things, I do some patents, a lot of things. Some are confidential, some are not, you know. And I think I've reached the point where I've reached stage 2 of my goal. My initial goal was to get a PhD in electrical electronics engineering, which you have to pass through undergraduate, master's, and then your PhD. I'll be finishing my master's next year in September, but it's actually a combined course with the PhD, and then I have 3 years after that. But yes, I've come a far way. Up to date, I've already gone 7 years and I have 3 years ahead. But I think the way I think, the way I see things, the way I judge, the way I criticize has changed a lot. I wouldn't say education has changed me. Yes, education has changed me. I think that my way of thinking, my lifestyle has changed as an engineer. Yes. And I always tell people that that's the most dangerous thing that would happen to you. And people that know me well know I'm a one-man person. I don't have this group I go around with. The reason is, sometimes the people you surround yourself with are the people that almost kill your dream. Now, some people will say, I just lost my father in 2009. That's when I was planning to go out. So my mom, she became a widow. We have 5 children. 3 were already studying abroad. It was remaining the last 2 of us. Now, even if she was earning 5 million naira a month, for instance, she wouldn't have been able to pay the bills for all the 5 kids to study abroad. But then people ask, why are you stressing yourself to go abroad for education and stuff like this? And that was the first hurdle for me. And we passed that hurdle. But even when you get to Japan, people, when I used to work 2 jobs and stuff like that, people say, why are you killing yourself for education like this? Why don't you just drop down? You already speak good Japanese. If you drive a truck for 1 month for a shipping company, you might get as much as $6,000 or $5,000 a month. And I found that everywhere I find myself, there are always those people who they look at the situation that you're in now, and they try to determine what your future would look like. And most of the time it's different, because they say, I always tell people, a joke I always say to people, I wouldn't like to say it in an interview. I used to tell Japanese people, I say, when I shake them, I say, be happy to shake me now, because in future I might be the president of Nigeria. And they'll laugh and say, you, president. In their mind, they're like, this guy is too ambitious. This guy is not realistic. But in my mind, I'm serious, you know? And even in school, I'm doing a PhD now. So many people, even in your immediate family, so many people ask you, what you need a PhD for? I've spent more than 10 million yen on education alone. I was telling the head of a company a couple of weeks ago, we met in central Tokyo. I said, I spent more than 10 million on education. He said I should come to this company. I said, you can't pay me, because the amount I've already spent on education, I would even want to take something small. But I was just joking. But the thing is, people will look and say, you spent so many years. I've spent 8.5 years in education already. Just language university. When I add my PhD, that would take me 11 years. But some people will say, what are you doing this for? It's not realistic. Some people say, you're too ambitious, you got a first class, you're getting a honors in masters, what you need a PhD for? So I think it's just about your own determination and you being focused. Now, in terms of scholarships, like I said before, I was working so many jobs and I knew I couldn't sustain myself with this for too long. I was getting tired, I was having back pains, I was having so much on my mind. So anything that could reduce my stress by just 1% would have been a lot. And I had myself searching for every scholarship that was available, and I had to work towards them. So when I was in language school, I heard that the best graduating student in a language school will get his first year in the undergraduate course free. And so I told myself, if I have to kill myself to get this scholarship, I will. I'd rather die than let people know that I struggled this hard just to attain a goal than for me to be alive and be a failure. And so that's my own opinion. I rather die struggling to get something than sitting down and being a failure. So what I did was, I first find out, what exactly do you want? Do you want 100% in physics, 100% in Japanese? Because we had mathematics, physics, Japanese, and all this. So what I did was, I just had to study. I studied so hard, and to God be the glory, I got that scholarship, the first one, for my first year in undergraduate. I got it. The second position was a Chinese girl. I beat her with only 1 point. Just 1 point. And I think my life is actually the story of the grace of God, and this is something I tell people when they say, how do you do it? Because the truth is, even the scholarships I get, I just think it's the grace, because I know the competition is tight. You know the kind of brains that they have there, especially when you have exams for these scholarships. Some scholarships have exams. Now the Chinese guys, not even the Japanese, the Chinese guys don't use calculators. I do. They finish the exam in 30 minutes, I finish in 1 hour. They get 99%, I get 99, but they finish in 30 minutes. So most of the time it's about you knowing your capability. If you want a scholarship and you know it's going to be difficult, you start reading for it like half a year before it comes, so that when it comes, you'll be ready. And so these scholarships, I think I got a lot of them. I got the stipends, the ones where they give you about $500 a month, or the ones where they just give you, like, say, $6,000 a year. It just comes once, and you do what you want to do with it. Or the ones that come every month, like a stipend. Yeah, but the scholarships, they were there, but the competition was high. Imagine a scholarship where they only give 3 people and 850 people are applying. And the criteria for for applying is that you are on GPA out of 4 above 3.5. That's already a first class, in your third year. And if you have 800 people in first class trying to apply, you know how it is. So then when they see that the grades are the same, they have to go back with different things, like how your essay is, how your composure is, how people think about you. And so scholarship was always there, but the competition was tight.
私は今年の4月に日本にやってきました。私のナイジェリアのうちの電気製品はほとんどみんな日本製でした。小さい時からこんな便利なものを作ることができる日本という国に興味を持って、ぜひ日本に留学したいと思いました。 3年前、母と一緒に中国に行った帰り、私たちの乗った飛行機はパイロットからアナウンスがありました。ただいま。
Enjoy your time at Tokai University. Time is limited. Make sure you join circles, clubs, projects, school festivals. Do as many things as you can. Get to know people, get to make new friends, build a network around yourself. I know that school life could be very, very challenging. Exams, research, part-time jobs and whatnot. But in the midst of this, try as much as possible to get some fun. Tokai University has alumni from all over the world, from every continent of the world, waiting for you outside. Go, Tokai!
Thank you for watching.